feel I have a huge ambition to be a change maker for soil health. Due to lack of education, farmers have been damaging and killing off soil health quite a few years now, and especially fungal health. And I have studied natural green farming and different natural farming systems that can revive that health in the soil and inoculate it with indigenous microorganisms and stuff like that. And that to me is where I want to make change in the world, to try and help educate farmers for them to change into a new direction that will be financially viable to them and help them connect to the land more, help their family get more excited about becoming farmers and continuing the tradition, whilst really harnessing the life in their soil and replenishing it. Simple finance science, maybe you could say, in a way has convinced them that the plough was essential and beneficial, and it did so in the yields. Same with the artificial fertilizers, etc. It's quite obvious now that that's been degrading and going backwards. The yields aren't working anymore, the soil health isn't there anymore. The soil life is gone, you know, and the yields are paying for that without use of artificial fertilizers. And then the organic and regenerative side of Ireland and the rest of the world is getting really good results, so it's quite easy to compare and see. For me, if I'm trying to convince a farmer why he might consider it, I think the easiest way to convince them is the finance of it all. Because first of all, it was all about yields, but in the end, if you're looking at your profit overall and the margins, then it's been just getting smaller and smaller for years and years. Whereas organic or regenerative farmers, they don't have the inputs, they don't have the fuel needs or the machinery needs, you know, like real regenerative agriculture can be with as little as electric fencing and good animal management if you're working in livestock management. Farming for Nature is really impressive, like what's happening in Ireland. All these ambassadors that are speaking and telling their stories. One of the main problems what's happening is they're really afraid to go against the grain, whereas if they can come together with their neighbours and realise there's quite a few of us going against the grain and we're all getting some good results, then it'll be a lot easier for them to transition. It's less daunting. Oh, I have huge hope. Yeah, like that's the thing. It's so simple. It's just that they just don't know about it. So like I have a lot of friends that I went to school with and they're big scale dairy farmers, and they've got the pressure on them now where their milk is worth 38 cents a litre and they just can't make ends meet, and that's like so intensively working hard at it. Whereas I have other friends and they don't intensively farm at all. Like it's really relaxed approach and less effort, but they sell their milk raw, unpasteurised, organic milk at €4.50 a litre. So that's some huge margins. So like that's the benefit of the finance for the farmers. Once you dial that in right, I've seen farmers in transition, they're able to put on way higher stock density because they're getting a lot more biomass growing on their land by managing it right. It's all down to timing. Say having the longer biomass, like having your grass stored at 40% minimum, means that you're keeping your root length at like 60% minimum, and that there harnesses soil health. The fungus, whatever it might be in the soil, really needs that trade-off with the roots and the plant, whereas overgrazing would just deplete all that soil health. Then just allowing the grass at different stages and just keeping it short and et down and short and et down, instead allowing it to get to longer lengths, you're just getting much more diversity in there. And the diversity in the diet's giving yourself healthier animals. There's no need for any injections or anti-warming and stuff like that. You don't need it if you've got diversity on your land. All of these things are in diverse plants, such as like dock leaves and clover and stuff like that. They're giving an animal all at once, but you need to allow the animal to go and source what he needs. Just like us, we need micro and macro minerals and micronutrients, but we know how to get it for ourselves, so we've calculated what we need. A plant needs more amounts of certain, say, calcium at a certain time of year, phosphorus at a certain time of year, but it's very hard to time that and put it on at the right time. If you have health in the soil, then you've got this perfect relationship and they can just communicate and get what they want when they want it. And then you don't need herbicides, you don't need pesticides, because when the cell structure is really healthy of a plant, it doesn't get attacked by pests. What really got me into farming and soil was like diet. I used to compete at a high level in boxing and therefore got into diet, and then figured out all about how important it was to take care of your gut. And then it just realizes that like you get so much bang for your buck by your investments in gut health, pay you back tenfold or 100-fold. And that I think can be reflected in society and in the soil. Your efforts in preservation and care for soil are multiplied. Bitter foods are really important, just like the animals in the pasture. For my diet, say, it's just like whole foods, you know, like lack of processed foods, trying to eat lots of raw food, trying to preserve food as was always done, and with that comes all your probiotics, fermented foods, yeah. The consumer does drive a lot of these changes, and hopefully consumers are more interested. On some of the large NOTS courses I went on, there was big scale organic oats growers and stuff like that. And they said there's a big problem because Irish people aren't actually buying it. So the consumers need to act on a bit more. The friends of mine that have a regen ag farm that grow for a little farm shop, market garden, pasture raised eggs, and they've animals in regen ag style as well. They sell at a really high price, and they're the ones selling also the raw milk at that high price. They are from a wealthy area in Strandhill, Knockgrey Farm, so that is a lot easier. If you could really understand the benefits of eating those foods, you don't need as much of them. You know, like if you really care for your kids, really care for your own health, then it really is an easy investment in such foods. I seen a really good article and it talked on this Wonder Bread is where they take the grain and then it's highly refined, highly processed, it's bleached, so there's really nothing left in it except the calories and carbohydrates that are causing blood sugar issues, diabetes, and all these cardiovascular issues are costing so much on the healthcare system. The Wonder Bread is then re-injected with whatever minerals and vitamins that it's got, like a multivitamin in the bread, so they think it's amazing, but it's been subsidized so that the bread can cost $1 each, is normally what it costs in the shop. But it was put into this study that they could figure out that it actually, if you were real about it, when you talk about how much the subsidies cost to pay the farmer off to grow the grain, how much the hospital bills cost per person, that the truth is that each bread is costing the government $1,000 each or something like that there. So like, I think if we look at a lot more of our food on the shelf like that there, and if there was a tax involved on all these processed unhealthy foods and a bit of subsidised towards local farm shops and stuff like that there that is growing food in season with regenerative practices, then it should be a lot more affordable to everyone. Adding the multivitamins and the minerals into the milk afterwards, that's kind of like adding the artificial fertilizers to the land, because it's not naturally coming to the plant. It's not bioavailable to be uptaken by the plant, the same as when we take them multivitamins as they are. Sometimes they're like fat soluble, whatever it might be, that it's just not bioavailable to us to uptake.